I'm Kaylee, and this is part 4 of my 2018 bookshelf tour. And today I'm going to be showing you children's books and middle grade. In case you didn't know, Books for MKs is a charity that donates books to missionary kids who are in need. If you want to donate to the kids, you can do so at GoFundMe.com. There's a link down in the description, and there's a button at the end of this video. If you haven't been keeping up with my bookshelf tour videos, I already did one on my antique books, my classics, which you see behind me, and my YA books, so you can always go and watch those other videos as well. So the ones I'm going to show you today are not actually all of my children's and middle grade books. I have a lot of children's and middle grade. Well, I mean, I run a charity that donates books to kids, so I try to keep up pretty well with, what are books that kids love. And actually, I just love reading them myself, and I use the kids as an excuse. So the children's and middle grade shelves that I'm going to show you today are ones that are located in the guest room of my home upstairs. I actually have other children's and middle grade books in another bookshelf elsewhere that I'm going to show you in a different bookshelf tour. So hang on to your hats. We'll get there. Don't worry. Don't look at this shelf and be like, but you're missing this important book. Don't worry. It's somewhere in the house, I promise. So without further ado, let's go on over to the children's and middle grade bookshelf and take a look at the books. So most of my children's books are in the guest room in my house, and I have this long wall full of bookshelves, and most of the children's are in the middle shelf, and there are also some in a corner shelf in the corner. So first we're going to start with the ones that are in the middle. Most of these are by author's last name, so some of them are a little out of order just based on where they fit, but most of them are in order alphabetically. So we start with a lot of Joan Aiken books from the Wolves of Willoughby Chase series. There are 12 books in this series, and I don't own all of them, but I do have The Wolves of Willoughby Chase, The Stolen Lake, Black Hearts in Battersea, Nightbirds on Nantucket, The Witch of Clattering Shaws, The Cuckoo Tree, Dido and Pa, Cold Shoulder Road, and The Whispering Mountain. Some more of her books are The Cockatrice Boys, The Shadow Guests, and a nonfiction, The Way to Write for Children. I love the duology of Sidekicked and Minion, Mr. Popper's Penguins, The True Confessions of Charlotte Doyle, Tuck Everlasting, Gideon the Cutpurse and the Timequake. There's actually another book in this trilogy, the second book, that I don't own, and I really wish I had it. Then the Spiderwick Chronicles, The Field Guide, The Seeing Stone, Lucinda's Secret, The Ironwood Tree, and The Wrath of Mulgarath, Sylvie and the Songman, Shield of Stars, The Anybody's, The Enchanted Wood, The Pink Motel, The Mad Scientist Club, Freddy Goes to Florida. Just to clarify, Freddy is a pig, and he goes to Florida. The Adventures of Old Mr. Toad, The Trouble with Magic, Mostly Magic, and Secondhand Magic, Beverly Cleary's Ralph S. Mouse, and The Mouse and the Motorcycle, The Boggart and the Boggart and the Monster, The Misadventures of Maud March, The Wanderer, Airman, The Supernaturalist, Half Moon Investigations, and The Wish List, and then the Artemis Fowl series, Artemis Fowl, The Arctic Incident, The Eternity Code, The Lost Colony, The Opal Deception, The Last Guardian, and The Time Paradox. And I think there's one more in this series. I can't remember. There might be one more that I don't own. The Gregor the Overlander series, Gregor the Overlander, The Prophecy of Bane, The Curse of the Warmbloods, Marks of Secret, and The Code of Claw. Finn the Wolfhound, The Tale of Despero, The Finch's Fabulous Furnace. I do have one graphic novel of Avatar, and it's the second volume. I wish I had more of these. The Great Brain at the Academy, and The Great Brain Returns, Harriet the Spy. And moving on to the next shelf, we start with The Town of Remarkable, Homesick, My Own Story, I, Coriander, Elidor and the Weirdstone of Brisingamen, The Samurai's Tale, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which is too tall to fit up on the shelf, so I just put it sideways. A lot of Cornelia Funke. I think it's Funke, I never know how to say her name. Anyway, I have lots of her books. Dragon Rider, Igraine the Brave, Ghost Knight, The Thief Lord, and then, of course, the wonderful Inkheart trilogy with Inkheart, Inkspell, and Ink Death. The Phantom Toll Booth. The Order of Odd Fish. From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler. A Mouse Called Wolf, and The Water Horse. The Clockwork 3. The Mrs. Piggle Wiggle Treasury. A lot of Gail Carson Levine books. The Wish, Dave at Night, Ella Enchanted, and The Two Princesses of Bamar, which is one of my favorites. Cinderella and the Glass Hill, The Princess Test, The Fairy's Mistake, Princess Sonora, and The Long Sleep. And moving on to our next shelf, we have Fell Farm Campers, The Frog and Toad Treasury, The Hall Family Chronicles, starting with The Diamond in the Window, The Swing in the Summer House, The Astonishing Stereoscope, The Fledgling, The Fragile Flag, and The Time Bike. Hawksmaid. Petronella Saves Nearly Everyone. Mrs. Coverlet's Magicians. The Chronicles of the Red King, The Secret Kingdom, The Dragon's Child, The Snow Spider, and The Chestnut Soldier. Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim, and The Silver Crown. Dragon Spell. Tom's Midnight Garden, Minnow on the Say. The Storm in the Barn, The Westing Game. In Grandma's Attic, and still more stories from Grandma's Attic, The Dragon of Lonely Island. Holes. The Cricket in Times Square and Chester Cricket's New Home. A Fabulous Creature and The Velvet Room. I loved Encyclopedia Brown when I was a kid because I wanted to be smart like he is, so I'm trying to collect a lot of his books. I have the very first one, Encyclopedia Brown Boy Detective, then The Case of the Treasure Hunt, Encyclopedia Brown Solves Them All, Encyclopedia Brown Shows the Way, The Case of the Slippery Salamander, Encyclopedia Brown Saves the Day. And moving on to a lower shelf, we start with the Septimus Heap series. I only have a few of them. I just have Magic, Flight, and Dark. The Enola Holmes Mysteries starts with The Case of the Missing Marquess, The Case of the Left-Handed Lady, The Peculiar Pink Fan, and The Gypsy Goodbye, and I'm only missing one out of this one. Murder is Bad Manners. Skating Shoes, Tennis Shoes, The Thursday's Child, and The Magic Summer. The Great Good Thing, and The Blue Shoe. Treasures of the Snow, and Star of Light. Cloudy Bright. Mary Poppins Opens the Door, and Mary Poppins Comes Back. Moving on to our next shelf, I have a lot of Barbara Brooks Wallace books. Ghost in the Gallery, Peppermints in the Parlor, The Perils of Peppermints, The Twin in the Tavern, Sparrow in the Scullery, and The Secret in Saint Something. And I also have The Trouble with Miss Switch, which is part of a different series. I have one Happy Hollister's book, The Island of Mad Scientists and The Faceless Fiend, The Castle in the Attic and The Battle for the Castle, Dragon Keeper, Garden of the Purple Dragon, and Dragon Moon, The Outspoken Princess and the Gentle Knight, and The 13½ Lives of Captain Blue Bear. And then we move on to another little shelf that I have in the corner, which has a lot of my older classic children's books, and even just some special children's books from my own childhood. At the top, I have a beautiful boxed set of Winnie the Pooh books, which includes Winnie the Pooh, The House at Pooh Corner, When We Were Very Young, and Now We Are 6. Then we also have The Adventures of Tom Sawyer and Hans Brinker. And then down on the next shelf, we have the Green Fairy book, the Blue Fairy book, the Lilac Fairy book, and the Red Fairy book, all edited by Andrew Lang. And it's one of my goals to own all of these. It's just collections of fairy stories from around the world. I also have the new Down the River Road and the new Through the Green Gate. These are both Alice and Jerry books, and I loved these when I was a little girl. And I also have a few of the McGuffey readers. I used to have McGuffey's first and second reader, but I'm not sure what happened to them, so I only have 3 through 6. Down on the next shelf, I have a Puffin Book of Verse and the Shakespeare Storybook. I have Toby Tyler, Christmas Stories, Bambi, A Treasury of Peter Rabbit and Other Stories by Beatrix Potter, The Courage of Sarah Noble, one of my favorites as a girl, Rip Van Winkle and Other Stories, and The Five Little Peppers, and of course, a beautiful old edition, very, very old and falling apart, of Stuart Little. And on the last shelf are some of my favorite picture books from when I was a little girl. A Friend is Someone Who Likes You. 3 more Beatrix Potter, The Tale of Mrs. Tiggywinkle, The Tale of Tom Kitten, and The Tale of Jemima Puddle Duck. Harold and the Purple Crayon. No collection is complete without Harold and the Purple Crayon. And of course, you have to have Chicken Soup with Rice. You cannot call yourself a children's book collector unless you have Chicken Soup with Rice. And a beautiful old edition of The Superlative Horse. I have That Boy Johnny, the Bible that I owned when I was 4 years old. This Bible is very old and falling apart. The Little Colonel stories, and The Little Colonel at Boarding School, Anne of Avonlea, The Runaway Bunny, Mr. Rabbit and the Lovely Present, Henry's Important Date, and Henry Goes West. And those are my children's middle grade for this bookshelf, and you're going to see some more later on in a different video. Please leave a comment and let me know, what are some of your favorite books here? Do you have favorite childish memories of reading any of these when you were a kid? Do you read any of these now to your kids, or are you like me and you just read children's books because it's fun? And you don't have kids and you just like to read anything. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and remember, the right book in the right hands at the right time can change the world.